Welcome back to the Virtual YouTube channel. Before I get into this video, please like and subscribe for more content like this. And what are we actually talking about today? Of course, we're back onto the Formula 1 grind as the weekend starts in Formula 1. FP1 and FP2 was today. So we're going to have a little talk about that and give my kind of thoughts on going into Saturday and Sunday of what could actually happen. So of course, if you did miss my Singapore preview, I'll have it linked in the description down below, and I'm going to try and pick points of that as well to see what I've actually got right and what I've actually got wrong. So let's kind of do like a little overview. Ferrari topped both practice sessions. Red Bull looking a bit further off than what we'd expected them to be. We thought that Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez would come here and dominate as they normally do, but it's not quite looking like that. Mercedes, Aston Martin looking better this weekend. McLaren have new upgrades to their car as well, and Lando Norris is looking especially strong today. Williams looking to really struggle a little bit more. I did mention this in my preview, and Williams have mentioned this as well. Albon didn't really get a lot of running in FP2 as well, which is going to be quite key to the weekend. FP2 is the session that you don't really want to miss if you had to miss one of the practice sessions. Of course, 3 drivers are debuting at this track, never raced at Singapore before. Oscar Piastri, Logan Sargent and Liam Lawson. So it's very much of a learning sessions for these 3 drivers. I do expect these drivers to be not kind of up to scratch straight away, although Lawson does look really strong so far in FP2, beating his teammate Yuki Tsunoda. So let's kind of kick it off with Ferrari. Ferrari were the quickest team across both practice sessions, which is for Ferrari fans, it's something nice to hear. For neutral fans, it's nice to hear that Ferrari are back at the front as well and could actually cause competition for Max Verstappen and maybe stop him from winning. Is Carlos Sainz or Charles Leclerc the man to stop Max Verstappen on his excellent run of form at the moment? We're going to have to wait and see, but they've started the weekend so strong. I initially thought that Ferrari were going to drop off a bit this weekend, considering that Monza is a high-speed circuit and they really do well at those sort of circuits with the top speeds, but Singapore is very much the opposite to that, where there's not more 90-degree kind of corners, and Ferrari do kind of struggle in the kind of the high downfall circuits. Element of the newly profiled Sector 3, that may have played a part into Ferrari being much stronger. And generally, Ferrari have done really well in Singapore before. Of course, these generations of cars are completely different to the previous generations. There's nothing similar to any of them, but I'm sure there'll be some sort of familiarity. Of course, Charles Leclerc has been on pole here twice before. Carlos Sainz have picked up some good results here before as well. So this track is a circuit that the Ferrari drivers do tend to go well around. So maybe that kind of form is picking up over to this season. FP1, Charles Leclerc finished P1 and Carlos Sainz was P2. But in FP2, it was the other way around with Carlos Sainz in P1 and Charles Leclerc in P2. So definitely going to the qualifying, I think Ferraris could be the favourites going into qualifying. I honestly could think that. Obviously, they're very good with qualifying. They're very good at burning their tyres, much better than any other team on the grid. So maybe we could see another pole from the Ferraris, maybe a 1 and 2. But I highly doubt Max will not be in that fight. He always manages to pull something out and produce an excellent lap. So still don't count out Max Verstappen. And of course, Ferrari maybe do grab pole. It's very highly likely that they could maintain that lead as well. They have a 1-2 and they're looking really quick so far in qualifying. And as we've always known, track position around Singapore is so crucial. So if they can have a really good qualifying, they do hold a very good chance of finishing the race quite high up, maybe potentially winning the race. But of course, let's skip on to Red Bull. They are seeming to struggle a little bit. They've had a few upgrades coming here to Singapore. Maybe it's still understanding those little different parts and how they interact with all the other pieces of the car. Sergio Perez mentioned after practice that they're struggling with rear grip. And of course, Singapore is a track where you need a lot of good rear grip. Of course, there's quite a few 90-degree corners around here where you need really good traction. So far, this weekend has seemed to be the most toughest of Red Bull, and they've got a lot of homework to do overnight because Ferrari are looking really strong. To be honest, I still don't count out Red Bull. Max Verstappen is on fire and he has that confidence and he seems to be able to pull out a lap when he has to. But Red Bull are definitely kind of going to be closer to everyone else here than they have been in other circuits. Max Verstappen has mentioned before, if they're going to go poorly on any circuit, it is going to be Singapore, and maybe that is living up to expectations from Max Verstappen. But we're going to have to wait and see, because there's been situations before where it has looked a bit iffy. Other drivers grab pole, other drivers have looked quick, but Max Verstappen still is able to pull through with a race victory. For example, when Hamilton grabbed pole position, there was kind of wonders, could Hamilton hold on with Hungary being such a difficult circuit to overtake, but Max Verstappen was able to get that done really easily on the first lap and take another race victory. I'll kind of talk about McLaren, Aston Martin and Mercedes together. These guys kind of look to be kind of a little bit together, I would say, the three Mercedes powered teams. McLaren have bought some massive upgrades for this weekend, and it looks like they are working, especially in the hands of Lando Norris. Lando Norris is looking really quick this weekend. Piastri seems to me to still be adjusting to Singapore. Of course, the heat, the physicality that it takes at this circuit, maybe take a little bit of a toll on him and maybe is a little bit of a shock. But when it comes to qualifying, I do expect Piastri to still be up there fighting for Q3. And of course, Fernando Alonso always looks strong, and again, he's going strong around here. And as I've said in my preview, I wouldn't be surprised if he does pick up a P3, especially with Red Bull seem to be struggling a little bit, although I do think Red Bull will pick up the pace going into FP3. But Fernando Alonso is definitely looking strong. The Mercedes as well, Lewis Hamilton and George Russell, looking to be there and thereabouts. I'm not too sure for pole. I think the Ferrari is a bit more stronger than them, and Verstappen, of course, for pole position. But I do see Mercedes, they could maybe sneak in one of their cars into the top 3, definitely into the top 5. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Mercedes play their cards. And of course, Mercedes, as I've mentioned, are really good in their race pace, really good on their tyres. So let's see how that kind of play out tomorrow. But of course, they're going to need to have as good a qualifying as possible to enable them to maybe move up more positions as they can and perhaps maybe grab another podium. But honestly, I think we've got around about 5 teams who could basically be on the front row come tomorrow, which is really exciting. Now Alpine, as I mentioned as well, they could be a bit more closer and I do look a bit more comfortable this time round, and maybe a Q3 appearance could be on the cards, with Piastri, Lance Stroll not looking to be there with their teammates, so there could be an opportunity for both Ocon and Gasly, or maybe just one of them, to get through to Q3. But it's going to be looking a lot better for the Alpine drivers this weekend, with Ocon kind of being in and around the top 10, Gasly kind of falling away a bit in FP2, but I'm sure when it comes to qualifying, they'll be straight back up there. And Williams as well looked to have dropped off from their Monza pace, which was so surprising. They were fairly quick in Zandvoort as well, which was a surprise, with it's kind of been like a fairly high downforce circuit. Albon having a lack of practice in FP2, which is going to be a bit of a concern in terms of them collecting data, but I do expect Williams to kind of be in and around the bottom 3 teams this weekend. Liam Lawson, for me, has seemed to have stepped up another level going to practice as well. Liam Lawson was able to finish ahead of Yuki Tsunoda in FP2, but again, the performances that Liam Lawson is putting, if he can just continue putting those performances in, and with also Daniel Ricciardo being there this weekend as well, there's going to be a bit of pressure with, that's the guy that could be taking your seat, and you've also got the guy in your pit garage alongside you in the other car who could also take your seat as well. There's going to be a lot of pressure for Liam Lawson, and of course there's going to be pressure for Daniel Ricciardo when he enters back into the fold, when he makes his turn, probably around about Qatar. Haas is going to be probably more of the same. Maybe good qualifying. Hulkenberg is a master at qualifying so far this season. Maybe he can make a surprise Q3 appearance. Of course, a Haas car melts those tyres down, so coming into qualifying, they could maybe benefit. Maybe both cars could get out of Q2. I don't know. I'm a bit more confident with Hulkenberg doing it because he's been more impressive than Magnussen this season, especially when it comes to qualifying. Alfa Romeo, when I mentioned about them being the dark horses, kind of being roughly where they are normally every single week, so maybe I've got that one wrong. But we're on for a really good weekend. Practice is showing that teams are closer together, especially the top 5 teams. So there could be a real fight for points podium and hopefully for the race win as well. Of course, racing around Singapore is really tough, so it's going to be really interesting to see. But that's all. Probably a little short video, just a little rundown of practice. Tomorrow I'll be doing a qualifying review as well, to make sure you kind of chew around for that and keep an eye on that. So thank you guys for watching. Please, as I said, like, subscribe, share this video as well if you do love Formula 1 content. Football content will be coming at some point. I'm just kind of organising some little bits and making sure the right content comes out to what you guys would want. So thank you guys for watching. As I said, like and subscribe, and thank you for watching the Roadshow YouTube channel. Thank you. Peace.